Let me share with you a true story from my 20s, seemingly trivial but one that has stayed with me ever since. One evening, around 8 o'clock, I got home to find all my roommates were still out, leaving me alone in the apartment. As was my routine, I headed to the bathroom for a shower. The bathroom was spacious, and I liked to bring my smartphone with me to play TV shows, listening as I showered since my nearsightedness prevented me from seeing the phone screen clearly without my glasses. The phone was placed at the entrance on the vanity. Despite usually being brave, even to the point of daring to live in a garage in Central Park when I interned in New York, because the internship paid little and the garage rent was cheap and it looked just like a normal room, that night I felt a bit scared. The thought of being alone in the house unsettled me, but I quickly reassured myself, what's there to be afraid of? It's not the first time. During the shower, I was probably watching The Crown when I suddenly felt like the characters were speaking at double speed. Being slightly scared at the time, I quickly went to the phone to listen closely, only to find the speed was normal, leading me to doubt my hearing. Months later, during the day while cooking in the kitchen, my phone, now closer to me and with my glasses on, suddenly played at double speed. I watched the screen showing double speed, knife and vegetables in hand, until it returned to normal and I continued chopping. I found this curious but not life-altering, assuming it was probably a glitch in the phone software and didn't think much of it. The second incident, however, remains inexplicable. It happened in the month I was moving out, at the end of the 12th month of my lease, around January. New York winters are cold, so I used to turn on my electric blanket every night before sleep. One night, after checking stocks on my phone and getting ready to sleep, I reached out to turn off the electric blanket only to find the switch was already in the off position. I put down the phone and, due to my job in audit, paying close attention to evidence and the completeness of evidence chains, I felt the temperature of the blanket because if it had been off for a while, the temperature would be different. The temperature indicated it had just been turned off, and the switch area was still warm, showing it was on just moments ago. Therefore, it couldn't have been that I accidentally turned it off while using my phone and forgot. Otherwise, the switch area would have cooled down in minutes. Plus, I was fully awake when looking at stocks, not in a drowsy state. This was puzzling, but without any explanation, I simply turned off the light and went to sleep. About 2 weeks later, one night, just like before, I played with my phone before planning to turn off the electric blanket. This time I paid special attention to the tactile sensation of turning it off, thinking to myself how distinct that resistance felt and that there was no way I could have missed it last time. Amazed by the mystery, I went to sleep. However, I woke up in the middle of the night feeling extremely hot, checked the time, and it was around 3 or 4 a.m. Wondering why the blanket was so hot, I reflexively reached for the switch, only to see the red light on, indicating it was on. I was instantly fully awake, remembering clearly that I had turned it off before bed, especially considering the tactile memory. So, I spent the early morning hours recalling the pre-sleep scenario, still sure I had turned it off. This time, I was a bit scared but gathered my courage, calmed myself, and went back to sleep. My electric blanket has 4 settings, and if I set it to the first, the highest temperature, it would automatically reduce to the second, third, and finally, the 4th setting over time. That night, when I woke up feeling hot, it seemed to be on the 3rd or 4th setting, though I wasn't sure. I could have calculated approximately when the blanket was turned back on by tracking how long each setting lasts, which would have disturbed me more if it turned out to be after I had fallen asleep. Later, due to the weekdays being busy with work, I didn't pursue this calculation, thinking knowing or not would only add to my worries. Now, I've moved to a new house and haven't experienced anything similar. My friends joked that a ghost might follow me when I move, to which I replied, I moved from the east to the west side of Manhattan, several miles, and it didn't tire following me all the way. That's about the extent of my story. An additional note: last night my mom was going back to our hometown in the Northeast to visit my late grandmother's grave and asked me to book a train ticket online. After purchasing it, I told her it was in car 3, seat 20. She was surprised and asked, "Car 3, seat 20? I confirmed, and she said, "The day my grandmother passed away was March 20th.